The story begins with the discovery of an object from the post-World War II era. Two members of the bomb disposal team are seen checking the object. However, Captain Jo In-chang appears anxious because on the other side, his wife Choi Ji-young is checking her pregnancy. After finishing, Ji-young immediately contacts her husband while joking about the city's traffic jam. Then, news breaks that an American military ship has suddenly entered Korea. A major event occurs, an earthquake that destroys large buildings. Soon after, the earthquake starts to spread to the streets. Captain Jo quickly steps on the gas to avoid the earthquake, and the news broadcasts that the earthquake originated from a major volcanic eruption in Korea named Mount Baekdu. A woman named Yu Kyung meets a professor named Kang Bong-rae to help her analyze the mountain's eruption. Professor Kang says he had warned about the mountain's theory 3 years ago, but no one paid attention. Yu Kyung apologizes and pleads for his help once again. Professor Kang cannot refuse any longer. At the meeting place, all the disaster experts are gathered to discuss the eruption of Mount Baekdu. Yu Kyung introduces Professor Kang there. Professor Kang explains to all the experts, including the president, that the earthquake can be countered with a large explosion to neutralize the eruption and prevent the destruction of the city. Then Minister of Agrarian Affairs explains about several mines on the mountain that could be used logically. Professor Kang immediately mentions mine number 9, and the explosive to be placed in the mine is a nuclear bomb. Hearing this, all the experts refuse, fearing because the explosive is near the Chinese border. In the office, the president asks Professor Kang for his opinion on what to do. Professor Kang advises to stay quiet while waiting for the plan. Then Professor Kang gives advice that makes the president think harder. Here the president instructs Professor Kang to conduct research to increase the chances of success. Switching to Captain Jo, who is given a mission to complete in North Korea. After that, he can include his family in the American ship's evacuation to be safe from the mountain's eruption. Captain Jo lies to his wife that he is just on a regular duty. His wife understands and tells him to return on time the next day. Captain Jo's superior explains about 6 missiles to be taken from North Korea, and the main plan is to extract a man named Lee Jun-pong. He is the one who knows the location of all the missiles. After all preparations, they head to the plane. However, at altitude, the plane's engine explodes. Because the plane is going to crash, General Choi orders them to jump from the jet. In the military control room, they lose radar contact with Team A that has fallen. General Choi orders Captain Jo to retrieve the detonator stored with Team Alpha. After receiving the order, he immediately takes a colleague to enter the plane. Fortunately, they manage to get the detonator before the plane explodes. After that, General Choi orders Captain Jo to find Lee Jun-pong first. However, Captain Jo wants to wait for reinforcements to arrive, but General Choi says no reinforcements will come. In the car, Captain Jo says their task is to dismantle the missile and insert it into mine number 9 to be detonated. Once everyone understands, they head to the location on the map to free Lee Jun-pong. There, members see many people running due to riots. After that, they enter the place where Lee Jun-pong is imprisoned. After the door is blown open, Captain Jo immediately informs them of their mission to detonate a nuclear device in the mine. Lee Jun-pong mocks the team members there. Then he approached Captain Jo, prompting all members to ready their weapons. It turned out that Lee Jun-pong only wanted to take a bath. Jun-pong, who had cut his own hair and removed the tracker from his head, had taken Captain Jo's wallet and eaten the map inside. While in the car, Captain Jo, who was distributing new candies, realized his wallet was missing. Here, Jun-pong returned the wallet, revealing he had eaten the map. Now the route to the mine existed only in Jun-pong's memory, ensuring his life's value. Next, General Choi instructed Captain Jo to retrieve the nuclear material as quickly as possible before the earthquake occurred, while Jun-pong went to use the restroom. However, one of Captain Jo's men who was guarding him became distracted, and Jun-pong managed to free himself from the handcuffs and beat the man until he could not stand. After waiting for some time, Captain Jo grew suspicious because Jun-pong did not return. He quickly led the team into the forest and they were shocked to find the previously injured man named Tai-sik, showing his wounds and the tracker. Captain Joe and his team immediately rushed to find Lee Jun-pong, while Jun-pong was at his wife's place. He contacted someone and mentioned an object that piqued that person's interest. Back to Captain Joe, he saw a statue pointing towards an apartment, and he remembered that Jun-pong had once mentioned something about that statue, which led him to know the location of the apartment. Jun-pong asked his wife about the whereabouts of their daughter. She informed him that their daughter was in a place close to the mountain. He was shocked because his daughter was near the erupting volcano. Frustrated at seeing his wife under the influence of drugs, he pulled out a gun and shot the sofa. Captain Joe and his team heard the shot and quickly ascended the apartment, pointing their weapons at Jun-pong. Fortunately, Jun-pong surrendered his weapon and gave himself up. Moving to Captain Joe, with guidance from Lee Jun-pong, they entered a power station to retrieve nuclear uranium. Here Joe was tasked with distracting the enemy, while Tai-sik was to detonate the power plant to shut it down. When the power went out, the team members quickly moved to eliminate all enemies, while Jun-pong and Captain Joe improvised to subdue the enemy. Then the team members went to the basement. Upon arrival, they immediately handcuffed Jun-pong, while they began to dismantle the nuclear device and extract uranium to be placed in the explosive device. However, the volcano erupted again, causing a significant earthquake. Moving to Ji-young was heading to the harbor. She was trapped in the car and could not get out. Eventually, she was swept away by the massive wave, while Jun-pong managed to escape. However, someone contacted him. The person said that the detonator had to be brought along with Captain Joe, while Captain Joe was still trying to disarm the last nuclear device. After that, Captain Joe and the others hurriedly left because they had obtained the nuclear device. Fortunately, Jun-pong had a change of heart and returned to pick them up. They all ran to avoid the earthquake that caused massive destruction, while Ji-young managed to survive the huge wave. Here, Captain Joe and all the team members were still unaware of what Jun-pong was planning. Captain Joe immediately contacted General Choi. He reported that all nuclear devices had been successfully installed. Yu-kyung found Professor Kang under a table. Professor Kang informed that the explosive should be changed to mine number 7, because there was more strong iron there that could withstand the nuclear explosion. On the other side, Captain Joe handed over the handcuff keys because the mission to find the nuclear device was completed, but he still pretended that his journey was not over. Captain Joe then drew his weapon and warned him not to mess with them again. But suddenly, they were attacked by several shots which turned out to be American soldiers who wanted to take over the nuclear device and intended to order Captain Joe and friends to retreat. Captain Joe went to a truck and punctured the oil tank, then ran the truck. After Captain Joe jumped, Sergeant Min immediately shot the truck until it exploded. Afterwards, Lee Jun-pong immediately picked up Captain Joe. At that moment, he shot an electric stun gun, making Captain Joe faint. Meanwhile, at the headquarters, the American military forces were seen taking over the base because they wanted to take over the nuclear device that was to be detonated there. The American military promised to return the Korean soldiers safely. The Korean government could not do anything, so Professor Kang left in annoyance. After evacuating the Korean soldiers, the American military informed General Choi that the Korean commander, Captain Joe, had escaped with his detonator. However, we all know it was Lee Jun-pong's doing. The American general then ordered his subordinates to capture Captain Joe by any means necessary. Moving to Lee Jun-pong, while discussing a transaction over the phone, Captain Joe woke up handcuffed. Jun-pong then said that the Chinese army was on its way, and he would bring the detonator there to sell it. While Lee Jun-pong was urinating, Captain Joe unlocked the handcuffs with a rubber bullet in the car. In short, Captain Joe kept babbling until Lee Jun-pong became suspicious and opened the back door. Captain Joe immediately showed the tracker and swallowed it. Captain Joe went to the front and stepped on the gas, causing Lee Jun-pong to be thrown back, and they continued to fight inside the car until it crashed into a tree. The scene shifts to a bus, and Professor Kang happens to be on that bus. Professor Kang realizes that the person blocking the bus is actually Captain Joe's wife. When Captain Joe's wife sat next to him, Professor Kang looked scared. Professor Kang said that he was from America. He did not want to say anything to Captain Joe's wife because he knew Captain Joe was in North Korea. Moving to Lee Jun-pong, when he regained consciousness, he immediately handcuffed Captain Joe to the detonator, and they carried the detonator with a cart. While looking for lunch, they searched for food and drinks in a destroyed store. There, Captain Joe learned that Lee Jun-pong's destination to a city near the mountain was only to meet his daughter. Suddenly, the American military came and surrounded them. Fortunately, 2 of Captain Joe's teams appeared with their bus, and they immediately left the area with the American military's anger chasing them. However, the volcano erupted again, and as a result, the bridge they were crossing collapsed periodically. Back at the harbor, everyone also felt the earthquake from the volcanic eruption. Choi Ji-young, who was not allowed to board before all Americans boarded, remained stubborn and wanted to wait for her husband. Professor Kang quickly approached Choi Ji-young, who said that Captain Joe was in North Korea. Back to Captain Joe, they managed to survive the collapse of the bridge. Lee Jun-pong looked annoyed because Captain Joe had swallowed the tracker, making it easy for the American military to track their location. And at the same time, Yu-kyung was alone with her ringing phone, and it turned out to be Professor Kang calling her back. He said to try again by any means to inform Captain Joe about the coordinates he had changed. Yu-kyung immediately entered the headquarters and stole data held by the American military. From the control room, her presence was noticed as she attempted to leave, and the military forces blocked her. But fortunately, another Korean force helped Yu-kyung, allowing her to escape. On the road, Yu-kyung contacted the president, who chose to resign to save many lives with the already established plan. Switching to Captain Joe and Lee Jun-pong, they were still pointing guns at each other. However, Captain Joe appeared desperate, doubting he could save everyone from the volcanic eruption, and handed over the detonator to Lee Jun-pong. After hearing Captain Joe's words, Lee Jun-pong no longer thought of selling the detonator and quickly left for the city, leaving the detonator with Captain Joe. Yu-kyung successfully met Professor Kang and handed over the stolen data. Then they immediately contacted Captain Joe. Ji-young confirmed Captain Joe's location. Due to the urgent situation, Professor Kang snatched the phone's microphone and told Captain Joe that the main route had been changed to mine number 7 for detonation. Hearing this, Captain Joe hurriedly went to mine number 7. Meanwhile, Lee Jun-pong arrived in the city, where he met his daughter named Sun-ok, who had not spoken since the mountain incident. Suddenly, Chinese individuals arrived wanting to take the detonator. When Lee Jun-pong said he didn't have it, the Chinese leader shot him. Fortunately, the American military arrived and shot at them first. During the fight, Captain Joe and his team arrived with the detonator. Captain Joe informed them that the location had changed, causing confusion about the way to mine number 7. When the Chinese approached the detonator, it automatically activated and could not be turned off. The American general ordered his troops to withdraw because the detonator was active and dangerous. Meanwhile, the group of Chinese hurried away as the volcano was about to erupt. Here, Captain Joe instructed everyone to rush to the hospital. When Captain Joe wanted to leave, Lee Jun-pong insisted on coming along to show the way. Captain Joe contacted his wife and informed her that he would return on time. Then, they approached the erupting mountain by car to reach mine number 7. Fortunately, they arrived there, and at the same time, Captain Joe's wife felt stomach pain, indicating she was about to give birth. Back to Captain Joe and Lee Jun-pong, who were still struggling to bring the detonator deeper. However, the elevator to go underground was jammed. In a touching scene, Lee Jun-pong locked himself in to sacrifice for his country, detonating the explosive, causing the elevator to descend rapidly. Captain Joe hurriedly left, moving away from the erupting mountain. Meanwhile, Lee Jun-pong was happy to have seen his daughter. Shortly after, the nuclear bomb exploded, calming Mount Baekdu, and Captain Joe's wife gave birth safely. In short, few years later, Professor Kang saw Yu-kyung enjoying TV at the airport. When Professor Kang approached her, Yu Kyung immediately recognized him, showing the name board of the person she was picking up. Meanwhile, Captain Joe and his wife adopted Sunok as their child, and they became a happy family with 2 children. And the film ends. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe. Because by subscribing, you have supported me to make better videos. See you in the next video.